So I've got this cheap Chinese four-wheeler that's I converted to an electric at one point. I had this brushed electric motor on it, and I had a lot of troubles getting the thing to work. I ended up trying to use a CVT clutch on it with a big gear on it, and the thing was just junk. Come to find out that I think it was just the motor was bad. But I put the same battery, the battery was sitting here and everything. Still got the speed control on it, but so I put that same battery set up in a another four-wheeler, but with a gear reduction motor. The thing is, you can haul me around, pop wheelies, and everything. So it's something's just basically wrong with this motor that I bought. It was brand new, but it wasn't good. So anyways, I'm gonna convert this four-wheeler to a side-by-side. My kids are driving around with little plastic Gators, and the wheels are slipping, and it's just size is too small for them. So I'm just gonna see about converting this. I can do it like one of those Can-Am, or sorry, Polaris 170 side-by-sides. Those are, I did the math on all the stuff. They're 4 feet wide. This is gonna be 3 feet wide because I'm limited by my rear axle. And then, I could widen the front suspension, but I might as well just leave it. I'm gonna lengthen it. It's gonna be a 3/4 size side-by-side. I'm gonna put a like a 212 Predator in it or something. So it'll go decent enough for what it is. So I'm just gonna start cutting it up. I'm gonna cut the top off up here, cut the front off above the shocks, and then I'm gonna cut the frame down here and lengthen that out. I got the paperwork. I did some math on the computer. I think I'm lengthen 18 inches or something. So I'm just gonna get going and start cutting it up. So I've got the bike cut in half, got the top frame members cut out, and then the bottom spaced out. I'm going to, now that I got the cut, I can actually order the tube to sleeve this out. I need to cut the frame, so I knew what size frame tube to get. So now I'll order some tubing and start building that thing. So I'm back to working on my kids' miniature side-by-side build. And I've got the frame cut, and now I'm gonna work on extending it. So I bought some sleeve, some tube from McMaster, and I put some sleeves inside the outer tube. This tube is standard sizes, and this is some sort of a metric size. So it's not 100% exact on the inside, but it's really close. So on these I drilled 4 spots on each end and plug welded them, and I'm doing the same with these. And what I'm going to do now is insert the tubes, get everything all squared up, measured, using some steel to get the frame perfectly straight, so how it was before, and then I'll weld in these lower tubes, and the main frame stretch will be connected. Obviously still need some more reinforcements because it's just those bottom tubes, and I cut out the whole upper top of the four-wheeler, so just adding some of those pieces in is the step after this. So I've got the frame patch back together. I'll obviously, add some more reinforcements in there and stuff. I see they've got some horizontal bars, so I'll probably add a crossbar in there too, just to be safe. And here's my daughter test fitting the leg room and height in this little side-by-side. So I've lengthened the frame. Now I've got these, started making these sidebars, which are also going to be the floor pan for the bottom. Will be both the kind of delineate the edge of the frame. The main hoop is going to be put onto it, the front windshield hoop, and tying all the bars onto it. Oh, the dogs are coming out to say hi. And so I bent these up, and we're going to start fixing those, which will give me some points I'm going to tie into the rest of the frame. So to help to determine the size of it, I mean, the backside seemed like a good just junction spot for it. I took the steering apart, and so I could steer the wheels easier, and that obviously just enough clearance so that the tires don't hit. I also am replacing the handlebar style steering system with a rack and pinion. I've got some split collars coming, so these get mounted in a split collar onto the shaft. There really wasn't any sort of a good way to mount this otherwise, so I guess you just mount it on the shaft here with something, U-bolts or something. But I think the best thing for me is I order some split collars so I can mount the bottom half of the split collars to here and get it right where it needs to be. And I'll tighten I'll cut my tie rod ends down to a usable length. So next step, I guess, is to cut or notch the other sidebar, with a hole saw to match up the frame. Put that on, and then I'll be able to start working on my main hoop, and then then I can do my roof hoop. It goes around like this, and then my front bars, and then I'll do like a slide door bar, etc. And I can start tying in the mounts from the frame in the back and the mounts in the front to like a dash bar. So then I can start getting it's actually, it's pretty stiff as it is. But obviously you need to tie those suspension components into the frame so it's not gonna bend when we launch it off a jump or something. P.S. Don't tell my wife I said that. So determine the top height of the tube. I did some drawings on this on CAD, and I figured that the height of the top of the bar should be about 1,210 millimeters. And so what I did is I hung a magnet from the garage here, and so I can just snap my bar in place to help me fixture it, and also to help me figure out where I want to be making this stuff. So that's so I can have it held up in place while I'm welding it, and also to help me visualize where I need to get that bar bent to be mounting. So I'm gonna take some measurements. I'd like to probably try to do two bends in it, so it's not just a straight square tube, but so it has some shape. So it's going to come up, then have another taper, then go to the top and around. It's not going to be too much inboard, but just enough that it's not, a square frame. It makes it look kind of ugly. So to do this measuring, I measured up. It's like 3 feet, so 36 inches, 37 inches, and then it's 30 inches across. And that comes out to being like 102 inches, whatever I did with math. And every time you go around a corner, if you measure square, you actually gain some length by starting at the, if you measure the square corners, you'll have extra when you come down to the, when you bend a tube. And actually, just coincidentally, the piece of leftover bar after making these is 102 inches, so that works out perfectly. And so when you bend these, you got to bend from the center out, so that when your legs grow, the grow is at the end. And so when it's all done, I'll have extra sticking out the bottom, and I can trim it to exactly to fit, because I don't want it to, I don't want it to grow at the center, because then it would throw it, it would be too wide at the top. So I got to grow as you go around the bend. So you start from the center and bend out. And then the other thing, I got to think about is, you know, if I'm coming straight down to the corner here, there's no actual corner here. So once again, I'll have to add a bend in to have it connect here. Or I could have it connect here and have it come, you know, have it bend back up to it. So I think it'll be better to come here and have it bend out a little bit or something. Or to the corner, you know, just come here and have it bend out a little bit and kind of middle of the ground. And then once I get that in, you know, I could put a bar across or whatever and then tie into here. And then probably when I have a bar that comes down, touch onto that bar just to give it more reinforcement to tie into the frame more. So I'm going to get to work on laying out this bar and start. So this is the bender I'm using. It's a Vevor branded, but they're all the same Chinese stuff. Just at the time, the price including shipping was cheaper. So when you get it set up, you want to make sure that it's plumb. So that way, when your bends all work out better. So even though the first bend doesn't matter, but each sequential bend, it is very important to have them all square with each other. So just get it set up, get it first time, and be done with it. So I'm thinking that I want the top of the hoop to be about 26 inches wide, because it's going to come up and that's going to get a taper into the bend. So I'm going to do the top hoop about 26 inches wide, but because I know that the bends, my radius of my die is 6 inches. So, or 4 inches, I guess. So I'm going to take the 26 inches that I want and lay that out. So I get 9 inches on both sides of the pipe from the other center line. So I marked the center line on the tube with a blue tape, and it's going to be 9 inches to both sides of the bends. So the first start of the first bend. So this thing takes quite a bit of force to bend. Fortunately, there aren't that many people that are bigger than me, so I'm able to provide a lot more downward pressure than most people, so I'm quite a bit stronger that way, if you want to call it that. Bend this around.
Fine. You look at that. Then you go. Let's make it flat.
No, I don't want to. I'd rather have it come back around. I want to give a little bit of shape to it. I don't want it to be all straight 90s. So I think I like that. It looks pretty decent. Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, so.
What I'll do is I'll check level here. Put that wedge in around a little bit. Right there is 90. So to get the other bend to be the same, I'm going to get that to 8 degrees on this little scale. So I'm going to rotate it around, put this leg in to bend it.
And there it goes, pop it out. That's pretty good. What I'm going to do is
Make sure this leg is plumb. And because I've already verified that the bender was plumb, Get that straight. Get this straight. So now,
put a wedge in here. Get this flat. And this has to get down to 8 degrees. A little bit of time because it springs back. Okay, 8 degrees. Oops. There's another one. That's wrong. That's all I need. Got 2 bubbles and they're not even. That's good. Okay, so, yeah, so ripping the right one. Still a little there, down a little bit. I'm not sure why they don't have this square there, but 10 degrees on that one.
so that's kind of what I want right there. I'm going to add some bend so that it comes down into it. So I could measure the width of the bottom frame. That's being on the outside is 33.5. I'd come to where 33.5 is here. Right about there. And do my bends to bring into the radius. But since I'm with the radius of that bender and stuff, I don't want to go, I got to stay up a little bit more. So because 33.5, if I did it there, it would bend it wide. I got to stay up. So somewhere in there, I'll probably start my next bend to have it come down and touch on these legs. And have it probably come tie into this middle corner here. Something. Have it straight down the back here. You know, above the shoulders.
Oh, let's make sure this is square again, the bender. There's my bender in the square again. Also, I'm just gonna make a plate match that. So this is 27 degrees. And we, so I want to take, that's 27 from 0. So I'll do is 27 from 90. So 63. So if I get this at 63 degrees, it should be 90. I'm going to take that much more. Keep going ahead. 63. So now this, and those bars should be 90 degrees. So I'm going to pop it around and do the other side. do then. So from 90, we go to 68. Let's set another couple degrees ago.
So I've got the bar in place. The width is just about where I want it. And I was trying to, do I want to go straight up and down or what? And I think I'm gonna put a little bend right here, right that dot. So I'm gonna get this bar will be vertical at this point, but have a slight tilt back on the slide bar, just to give it a little shape. So I'm going to mark that on both sides and give that a little bend. So looking at the gauge, I'm gonna try to put a 10-degree bend in there. Obviously one's gonna be bent one way and then the other side's gonna be bent the other way so they match. So I'm gonna put it in the bender and bend it. And obviously to help orient it, I can either put a level off here, I can look at my seam and bring that 90 degrees.
Hold this so it's, you see that gauge over there reading 0. At the same time, try pulling that over. So now, remember this angle, 12 degrees. So I'm going to bring this to about 22 degrees. Now I can swap it out. I'm going to have to rotate my vise away from the bench so the light's not touching the wall. But show it 10 degrees up here. Let me get this 10 degrees below. 20 degrees. Now it's a 10 degree bend, isn't it? Here's 10 degrees as well. And like 18, 20. Yeah. Should be good.
Set this bar in place. That looks pretty good. Fits that way. And it's got a nice shape in it. Get that vertical on the backside. And then, so now I'm just gonna mark these, and since they're on the corner, I'm gonna drill through the holes at like 45 degrees. Oh, sorry, drill through the corner to notch those on at 45 degrees. Let me check the height of the. They're looking for. 1210, so that's where it was. So yeah, it's actually a little lower than I thought. So I'm probably just gonna notch those manually. They lost a little height, I guess. I don't know. But so I'll probably just manually notch those without using a drill, because the drill you're gonna have to lose like an inch of material on the bottom. So I'm gonna start grinding those out. So I've got those notched to fit the tubes. and it's actually pretty vertical right here. So I'll tack weld that in place. So I'm working on making the tub where you're going to be sitting inside of. I've got the main hoop. These are the side rails, so you climb over these to get into it. They're going to tie into the front suspension where the old steering and front frame was. And then they come in the back. I'm going to connect from here over to tie into that suspension bar, and I'll still put one bar straight down, well not straight down, but like a 45 down to that cross member between the seats, and that'll stiffen up the rear end between here and down there. So I'm gonna tack this one in place and maybe see about figuring out what the main hoop for the top's gonna be. You know, I want to do this halo bar. So it's gonna be somewhere about in here, I think. To, you know, when I have the windshield bar, I think I'm gonna have a bar that comes up off across this for make like some sort of a dash bar, and this will be closed in with something. I'll probably just end up keeping this front here, maybe put some sort of a bash bar into it. I don't know. We'll see how that goes at the front. And then of course we're gonna have to mount the engine back here. Probably gonna have to the engine with reverse box here, coming down to a gear transfer bar there, to transfer power to the back end, so that way the suspension still works. But yeah, we'll keep on working. So I've got the other bar tacked in, and now I'm starting to work on the roof bar. Obviously it needs to, didn't get it quite straight, but obviously that needs to come down a little bit in the front and get needs to have a little bit of angle on it. You know, I can't have it. Once again, trying to eliminate all these square lines. But yeah, there's that top hoop. I'll work on getting out exactly where I want it and get the kink out of it a little bit. You can see the kink, get the kink out of it and tack that in. So now I've got the top hoop on. It's got a slight downward angle, which is what I wanted. I was trying to keep everything angled down a little bit. I also bent these in so that they meet the bar rather than being low and having this one stick up higher. So it makes the roof line look a little better. So I'm gonna make a windshield bar. It's gonna come down, and then I was gonna put a dash bar across here. You know, so you know, a dash bar, and then the windshield bars come down to it. So that way the windshield isn't coming, you know, full angle. I want it to have some sort of a bar here. So I think I'll put that in first, and then I'll connect to that probably about the same corner. And then I'll, you know, send that link down, and then I'll just link down here and then triangulate it or whatever. There's my daughter sitting in it. You can see the proportions about where they're supposed to be. The steering support will be on top of that dash bar. You excited about it, Isla?
Yeah!
So I got the main portion of the tubes all done for the cab enclosure, cage, whatever you want to call it. It's still gonna, I'm not gonna put everything in because I need to do some more work with the front suspension and figure out exactly where the engine's going to get mounted. Obviously, the engine's going to get mounted back on this little rack thing, but that rack is going to get changed around to accept the motor and reverse box. I need to find some seats that are about 14 inches wide to get, to make them fit in there. I may end up having to make some like aluminum Kirky style seats and upholster them. I think I'm going to leave, depending on where the front suspension changes, I'm going to put my down tube into here. But I also, because where the tire goes into it right now, if it ends up being a little wider, it may not be much of an issue. And I'm going to put that down bar in here, so I leave this little exposed Nerf bar on the side. So I'll probably run a second bar inside to bolt the floor pan to. The steering rack, and I haven't cut down my tie rods because I wanted to figure out exactly what I'm running for suspension first. Basically, I think I want to widen it out. So yeah, we'll keep making progress on this and get my kids in it soon. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.